Hey, as I'm sure we all know by now, Tears of the Kingdom added 2 new layers onto the map, with the first one above the overworld being the sky, and the second one below the overworld being the depths. These 2 areas have unique atmosphere, quests, and gear, and I think it's a great idea to talk about both of these areas in a video. We could also talk about the overworld, but nobody cares about that. Since we're going to cover both areas in this video, I think it's best to start off with the sky, since it's the area that most people were excited about. To start, in the trailers for the game, it felt like the sky region was made out to be much bigger than it actually was. If you doubled the size of the sky and put it above the overworld, you would still end up with far less land than the overworld. The Great Sky Island isn't even that large, yet it's the biggest piece of land in the sky. It feels weird that everything after the tutorial in the sky is so much smaller. That's like if the Great Plateau was bigger than any other region in Breath of the Wild. That being said, the sky still has a lot of value in the world. The biggest thing the sky contributes to the game is probably that it's where 2 of the 5 temples are located, being the Wind Temple and Water Temple, which are coincidentally the best temples in the game. These 2 temples fit perfectly into the sky, and would have been a lot worse if placed elsewhere, especially the Wind Temple. The sky helps the Wind Temple feel more important and climactic, while the sky also helps the Water Temple feel more ambient and peaceful, sort of like it's separated from the rest of the world. Let's not forget that the Rito Divine Beast was also in the air during Breath of the Wild, but fell completely flat compared to the Wind Temple in the new game. They clearly put a lot more thought into the atmosphere of the sky, which is probably the best thing going for it. The aim for the sky region's atmosphere seemed to be to deliver a mild feeling of loneliness, but not in a bad way. It just feels kind of isolated from the rest of the game. Outside of the important areas, like the Wind Temple, it's usually quiet and peaceful. Even for the music, it's nothing more than simple low horns playing in the background. Wait, it's a clarinet? The music really does capture what the sky is meant to be, simple and isolated. It's sort of like what a lot of the Akala region feels like in the overworld, and the reason it's so likable. As for gear, I didn't really find much in the sky region. Maybe I haven't looked around enough, but I've been all around the sky and can't seem to find much gear that I really care about from just exploring. The only gear I really use from the sky is the glider set, which, don't get me wrong, is an awesome armor set. Like I said before, there's a good chance I just haven't looked around long enough. But if after dozens of hours I still can't find important gear by exploring, it's still an issue worth bringing up. I have found a few of the sage's wills after fighting the bosses in the sky, but honestly, they feel completely worthless. The sky also doesn't have any unique bosses in the region. I thought the King Gleeok was exclusive to the sky, which would have been awesome. But it turns out there's actually a King Gleeok in the depths as well. So the sky doesn't even have an exclusive boss. I mean, at least the depths has frogs, right? If there was anything I could ask for when it comes to the sky, it would probably be some sort of sky village or town. I understand the sky is meant to feel lonely and abandoned, but it still would have been nice to have a functioning town of robots living amongst the sky. I know I've been complaining for far too long, and I want to say that the sky is still a good area overall. The sky just feels like a huge waste of potential, possibly a bigger waste than the Sage abilities, and hopefully they expand on it when the DLC comes out one day. Now it's time to talk about the far more interesting area, the depths. Despite not being shown in any trailers, and nobody knowing about its existence until the day the game came out, the depths has far more content than the sky, as in at least double the amount of content. When I first found the depths, I didn't like the area at all. I wanted to go and explore the overworld and the sky a lot more, and avoided going into the depths whenever I could. This is because the only interesting parts of the depths are outside of the central Hyrule depths, which is where you first find them. The depths has colosseums, a bunch of armor sets, unique enemy encounters, and so much more. I'm very close to unlocking every light route in the game, and yet I still haven't found a whole bunch of gear that I know exists. And oh yeah, remember when I said that at least the depths has Frox? Well, ignore that. Frox is an absolutely terrible boss fight and should be avoided at all costs. This disgusting frog thing is really the only thing dragging the depths down. The atmosphere in the depths might not be as good as the sky, but I still appreciate how unique it is. When I say unique, I don't mean bad, but I don't mean good either. It has an extremely mysterious atmosphere, which makes the player want to explore it more. With the dull black everywhere and the bright red enemies, it has a really unique look to it. It's not scary or sad, it's just mysterious. The obvious highlight of the depths is the previously mentioned gear all across the area. My theory has always been that the depths were just an excuse for Nintendo to put all of the fan service armor into one self-contained area, because finding items like Majora's Mask in a random overworld chest makes very little sense. So in order to make it fit into the world, they made an area outside of it, where everything ancient and forgotten could get shoved into and still fit in with the world building. Obviously, this is a wild assumption, but it would explain why they put most of the useless armor that references other Zelda games into the depths. On a side note, can we just take a moment to appreciate how Nintendo puts in references to lesser known Zelda titles, such as The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Ocarina of Time? I think that's how you pronounce it. The Yiga clan also takes up residence in the depths, which automatically makes the area twice as good. I've always been a fan of the Yiga clan. They're corny, but they're also pretty funny, and I can appreciate good comedy relief in a Zelda game. The depths also has a temple in the region similar to the sky, but unlike the wind temple and water temple, the depths has the fire temple. And this dungeon is a solid 3 out of 10, and I'm leaving it at that. It also has the spirit temple, which isn't really a temple per se. It's more of a standalone boss fight, which, as we all know, is not how underground temples work in real life. Although I've talked about the depths less in this video, I like it a lot more, and it has a lot more content worth talking about. Hopefully my complaining about the sky didn't cause any chest pains or mild strokes within your body, because if it did, you should probably contact a doctor. I've even listed step-by-step instructions on how to contact a doctor in the description. I also noticed that I totally mispronounced the name of this game earlier in the video. To make up for it, I'm going to pronounce it the right way this time. I think it's Ocarina of Time.